gotta care about shit. And sometimes it fucking kicks you in the dick and you hate it. I will say, though, if the Giants don't lose their game for the rest of this season or postseason, I think they win the Super Bowl.
Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are probably looking at this going, why did we waste millions of dollars sending something into space when we could have just got Harry Kane to kick the thing?
The Dallas Cowboys can suck my fucking dick because they're not going to win shit this year.
You're listening to the Claret and Big Blue Podcast on the Pass the Gravy Podcast Network.
Damn, Daniel.
And here we go.
And we are live.
We'll do it live.
Welcome everyone to Claret and Big Blue, probably the only podcast on the internet dedicated to West Ham United and the New York Giants. That's right, football and football balls for everyone's taste. I'm Mike Beach and I am joined as always by Mr. Alex Middleton. Alex, how you doing, buddy? 100 episodes. What the hell?
100 episodes. We made it, buddy. Who did thunk? Not me.
We grew
Not me.
from nothing to the vast,
A couple guys just chatting it up.
to 3 viewers. What a journey. What a journey. But we are joined by a very special guest for a very special occasion. You probably know him if you are joining us for the West Ham side. He is the one, the only, Mr. ExWHUEmployee. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Loving the intro. I don't often get clapped, so I'll take that. Thank you.
No expense spared. No expense spared. Whew, how you been?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Obviously, West Ham are not particularly helping the mood, but other than that, I'm doing well. Thank you. Yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm just trying to deal with. So I'm here in northern New Jersey, and we just had like a snowstorm, and now I'm sweating, so I don't know what's going on anymore. But yeah, appreciate you stopping by. It's almost past your bedtime, right? What is it now? 10 o'clock?
Yeah. My mum's allowed me to stay up a bit later today, so you're all good.
But yeah, so obviously we joined you because West Ham and Giants. So everyone knows you're a huge West Ham fan, obviously, but many people obviously didn't know that. I guess you're a Giants fan. So before we get into West Ham and again the misery that is that at the moment, how did you become a Giants fan? Was it like a name out of a hat situation? First game you saw? What's the backstory?
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, really. A little bit embarrassing, but I might as well tell the story. So when in England, there's a home store, like a clothes store called BHS. Well,
I remember it well.
To be. And back in the 80s, when like American football was really kind of kicking off in the UK and getting a lot of coverage, they used to do a range of like NFL clothes that you could buy. So my mum used to buy me clothes from there. So the first thing I ever had was a Los Angeles Raiders tracksuit, and then I had a Pittsburgh Steelers top, and then the last thing I was ever bought from PHS was a New York Giants tracksuit. And then I liked the colours, and I liked the fact it was New York, and I wore it. And then I think the Super Bowl win of must have been about 1991 that year. I had was that when we won the Super Bowl? Wasn't it? Yeah.
90, yeah.
We had So we had I had the Giants tracksuit. We'd won the Super Bowl, and I thought, well, you know what, this has got to be my team now. So yeah, stuck since about 1991, and been here ever since. Two Super Bowls later after that, so it's not been too bad.
Nice. I didn't realize you went that far back. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, that is a long time. So
I
loyal
can't claim
fan
to-
at least.
Well, yeah, loyal fan. I mean, there's been times that I've thought to myself, why couldn't have my mum bought me another team's tracksuit over the years? But once you've got your team, you can't really change. And been a loyal fan ever since. I couldn't claim. There's been periods in that time where I wouldn't have known too much about how the Giants were doing, but I've always kept a track of the league and always seen how we were, where we were in the league in the last maybe 10, 15 years. A couple of my mates really into NFL, and we're in a sort of WhatsApp group called NFL Banter. And since that, for the last sort of 10, 15 years or so, my support has increased again because of being the only Giants representative within it. So yeah, it's a big fan now. I watch the Giants every week. So I've got what's it called, Game Pass. I've got that, so I watch Giants every week. I would say I'm a Giants fan more than an NFL game, because if NFL fans, if the Giants aren't on, I don't tend to watch that much, but I'll watch the Giants every week. So yeah, big fan.
I was going to say, like, yeah, how's the viewing? Because I remember because I moved over here, it's like 7 years or so ago, and I remember it was like your only options were what Sky Sports aired, those 3 games. So if like the Giants weren't playing, then you were screwed.
Yeah.
So is Game Pass available in UK now?
Yeah, Game Pass is. So I've got it on my phone. So you obviously can select whatever game you want to watch. So every game, I select the Giants, have it on my phone. If it's on Sky or on a stick that I've got, I'll watch it on that because it's on a bigger screen. But worst case, I'll watch it on my phone, and then and it's good because when the games obviously go on longer than a football match, it means I can have it on my phone. I can get the kids ready for bed and do things as I'm watching. So yeah, I don't think I missed the Giants game all season from memory last season. So yeah, I do watch it pretty much every week.
Is it easier to watch a Giants game over there than it is a Premier League game? Because I've heard that it's just kind of a clusterfuck when it comes to watching the teams. Mike was trying to say, when you went over there and you and your dad were trying to get it, you were just like, you had to listen to it on the radio because you couldn't get it on TV.
So I said to get like a VPN on my phone, but I didn't have like an iPad. So me and my dad were just in the kitchen, huddled around my little iPhone, watching the game on NBC in the US, and it was terrible. But yeah, it's like you pay ridiculous amounts for Sky Sports, BT Sports, and all that, and then you still don't get every game. Whereas over here, you pay, what is it? What's Peacock? Was it $5? And you get.
Yeah, I don't know. They just take my money every month, anyways. It's one of those where I need it too much to watch stuff, so I'm like, just bill me.
Well, the thing is because it's the 3 p.m. kickoffs in the football, because they have some kind of rule that you're not allowed to watch 3 p.m. kickoffs live in the way that they want to sort of stop, encourage fans to still go to the games. I think that's the thinking behind it. Like if every game was on TV, you might not get as many fans there. I think it's the theory behind it, but you can tend to get most games if you watch on a stick, which obviously isn't legal, but not that I've ever done that, of course, whilst we're on live on air, but those that are like breaking the law, they can do that, so you can watch it on sticks. But it is easier to watch NFL because, like you say, you just pay for Game Pass and it's all legal. You can watch whatever game you want, and it's a shame that we don't have that in England with the football, but that is one good thing about the NFL. Definitely, I can always access the Giants whenever I want to. And I follow them on Twitter and on Facebook, so my timeline's always filled with Giant stuff. So it's quite easy to follow. Really,
and you follow us, of course.
Yes, I follow you. That's where I get most of my news and my opinions from.
But yeah, I never understood that the 3 p.m. law, because they're saying it's they're worried about people aren't going to go to games. However, they will be happy to throw on a Wednesday night game where the away fans have to travel 2 hours on a Wednesday night. That's fine. People will go to that game, but Saturday at 3:00.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous, really. The rule needs changing, I think it will eventually. But it's not quite into where you are in America at the moment.
By the way, just give us a quick shout out to people in the live. Adrian Valdez, what's up? And I didn't want to put this up there, but Lou Jackery, come on, your irons and fly, Eagles, fly. Well,
we'll bleep that last part out.
Yeah, now they're losing all their good players, which is a shame. It's a shame. What a shame.
Hate to see it.
So have you ever been over? Have you ever stopped over here to see a Giants game?
So I've been to New York. I actually got engaged to my wife in New York in Central Park. So
how cliche!
I know. It was a bit. And had the horse and cart ride round afterwards. Did all the ticks, all the boxes. I had to get to say yes. You see, so so I've been to New York on a holiday, but I've never actually been to a Giants game. I've been to games in England. that haven't involved the Giants. And I had tickets, so this is a sort of weird West Ham connection here. I had tickets to the Giants game versus who was it? I think it was the Saints. I think from memory, about 3 or 4 years ago now, and it was in Twickenham from memory, and. I had tickets to go to it. Then we went on holiday, and I actually sold those tickets to former West Ham player Jack Collinson, who I believe is also a New York Giants fan. So there's another West Ham New York Giants connection. So I haven't actually been able to make it. I couldn't get tickets again when they're over this year, weren't they? Yeah.
But the Packers.
Yes, that's right. I couldn't get tickets for it, unfortunately. So no, it is on my bucket list. And then Nick Stamper, who runs the West Ham Way USA podcast for us, lives in New York. So I have said that I am going to get over there. We're hoping to do a West Ham Way event in New York next year. So if we can combine that with a Giants game, then perfect. And I'll tick off something from the bucket list.
Nice.
That would be pretty sweet. If we could find it when West Ham and the Giants play at the same time, and then we could like tailgate at MetLife Stadium, have the West Ham game on a big screen, and then go into the stadium to watch the Giants game.
Wow. Love that.
That'd be wild. That'd be wild.
Yeah, that's the one thing. The crossing over. When I'm so glad that they don't have tailgating for football in England, because that would be a complete shit show.
Well, it's just called a pub, isn't it? Like that's what that is.
Yeah, you can do the pubs before.
You still pregame before you go. You just do it in a pub instead of the parking lot.
You just get a little bit more classier, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's way classier.
What would you prefer, right? If let's just say, because I mean, there's not really much of a car parking situation at London Stadium, is there? There's no.
Can't get near it.
No. But what would you prefer? Sitting in a pub before the game, or sitting outside of your car on like a beach chair, just drinking from 8 o'clock in the morning?
I think the pub for me, with my tolerance of alcohol, I wouldn't make it to the game. So I think the pub, I can manage about an hour beforehand, but yeah, the whole day, I think I wouldn't remember anything about the game. So yeah, I think I prefer the English culture on that one, I'm afraid.
Do miss it. How is the London Stadium these days? Because I haven't been back in a while to go to a game. The last time I think I went was, I want to say it might be in the first season. I went to even though they said the official first game was the Juventus game, I went to the Europa League qualifier against whoever the fuck it was. We won 3-0. And what was his name? What was the...
Was it like Dos? I can't remember. It was a Croatian team or something, wasn't it? Like, yeah, I know who you mean. I can't remember the name though.
Anyway. And it was a very weird situation walking through the shopping center to get to. Has that changed much? Has that improved that kind of pre-game experience?
I think it has got better. I mean, it's never going to be perfect because you got the same walk from the station, from Westfield, from wherever. It's still the same walk that you always had, because obviously it's like you got to get down those long paths to get to where the stadium actually is. But around the stadium, there's more on offer in terms of food. There's a DJ now there that plays music beforehand. They've put more kind of West Ham related stuff around, like flags and like pictures of ex-players and stuff. So it feels a bit more like what West Ham should feel like. But yeah, it hasn't changed significantly from when you wouldn't probably notice that much different, but small things. But if we could own that stadium, then obviously we can do more. But at the moment, we don't own it, so we can only do various like small things to it at the moment.
Do you know what they need to do? Be extremely cost effective, and if you have connection inside the club, you can pass this little message on. It's not a good idea, right?
They all listen to the show anyway, mate, so it's all good.
What I remember, my fondest memories of walking down Green Street to the Upton Park Bowling Ground was randomly you would just have those 2 or 3 nuns that would be standing outside the church
praying for a result.
Yeah, just stick some of them outside Westfield. Like old times.
Yeah. I wonder if they've still got work on at West Ham. Maybe we can ask them. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Good idea. But yes, speaking of West Ham, not going great. Let's just say that.
Whoa, hey, dude, Conference League, we're killing it. All right, let's not say it's a complete loss. Maybe the Premier League, we're bad, but best team in the Conference League right now. Can't take that away from us.
Conference League history.
So far,
So,
winning percentage wise.
First, is this the first ever time where you've hit an international break and you've actually gone, oh, thank fuck there's an international break? Because normally I dread them and hate them, but has it been like a struggle for you? Because I know you've been obviously able to go to the games live, and maybe it's a different, or maybe it's even worse, but it's very hard to get motivated to wake up at like 8 o'clock in the morning on a weekend to watch West Ham when you know there's going to be piss poor. How's your vibe going?
I must admit, mate, I actually look forward to the break because obviously it's my job now. We're fortunate, Dave and I, that we've made the West Ham way and the patron that we offer our full-time jobs now. So we spend all day, every day, either talking about West Ham or thinking about West Ham. And when things aren't going that well, there's only so much thinking of it you want to do. So, to have an international break is actually quite nice, just to have a bit of a time where I don't have to try and come up with some form of defence of the team or some form of defence of Moyes or some form of fake optimism at some point. So yeah, it's nice just to have a bit of a break. I actually enjoyed the World Cup because I was thinking about it. It's the first time since I've been ex in inverted commas, which I started doing the account in 2011. It's the first time since then that I've not had to chase transfer news, not had to chase team news, not had to chase barely anything. So it's the first time I almost had a few weeks off from actually doing what I do. So yeah, not that I'm complaining because I love what I do, but it is nice to have a break every now and again. So yeah, I'm relieved.
So I mean, going back to that 2011, or around that time. So obviously, I'm not going to talk about divulging any sources because I know that's the best way to get rid of a source if you talk about them.
Yeah.
But so I'm trying to get like the chicken and the egg kind of thing. Was there kind of like you had some connections? You thought, hey, I could use this to have some fun with this, or was you like, okay, maybe I could get into this. Let me see if I can get in and get some sort of like which way did it go?
So basically, what happened was me and my mate, we used to read a few in the know West Ham Twitter accounts. We'd say things to each other. Oh, do you see what this guy's been saying? He reckons we're signing this player. Or do you see what this one's been saying? He reckons this is happening. And I already had sources in the club, and I would think to her, and I'd speak to them. They go, well, that's not true. Well, that's a load of bollocks. Well, that's not true. And I'd say to my mate, no, it's not happening. These guys don't know what they're talking about. And then eventually, I just kept doing this. We'd read rumours. I'd go to people in the club that I knew. They'd tell me it was rubbish. And I'd just say to my mate, it's rubbish. And then my mate turned around and said to me, why don't you do it? Why don't you become one of the ITKs? And why don't you actually put news out that's actually true? And then I thought to myself, no, I can't be bothered to do that. No, it's not for me. And I was just like, yeah, no, mate, let's leave it. And then he kept saying it. And he said, why don't you try it it was the January transfer window. So it must have been like, I reckon, January 2012, I reckon. So, yeah, and he said, why don't you just try it for then and see what happens? So I was like, oh, God, then I'll give it a go. So I set up a Twitter account. We had to think of a name. So we came up with this name because I was an ex-WHU employee, but all the sources I had at the time were ex-WHU employees. So it's more about them than it is me as such. So anyway, so we set up the account. I heard that Joe Cole was returning to West Ham. So this is like how long ago it was. I heard that he was returning to West Ham. And the first tweet I put out is something like, returning hero Joe Cole will be joining West Ham this window, and no one knew about it at the time, and obviously he joined, so people were like, oh wait, hold on, who is this guy? So I got about like 200 300 followers instantly. Then I think from memory it might have been Yossi Benayoun or George McCartney or someone like that. I called that signing. And then it happened again, and people were like, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. I got up to about 1,000 followers within about 4 or 5 days. And then it just became a little bit addictive. And it was like, how many followers can I get by the end of this window? And so by the end of the window, I'd got to like 31st of January, and I had about maybe 4,000 followers, 5,000 followers. And I was like, right, I'm going to quit now. I said to my mate, I'm going to quit now. And he was like, no, you're going to see how quickly you can get to 10,000. And I was like, oh, mate, I don't know about that. And then so he's like, you got to do team news. Now you've got to do this, you've got to do that. So I was like, right, let's get to 10,000. I'll stop at 10,000. And I just kept setting like milestones for myself. And then it just took over and became what it is. And now it's my job. So it's a crazy, crazy journey, really. But yeah, it started off as a dare almost. And then I just built up sources as well, because the more I got to know through doing podcasts and interviews and going to like games with sources and just getting to know people, the more people got to know me. And then I got like players reaching out to me, and then I got like academy players saying, oh, can you shout me out? And then I had like coaches saying, can you say how well my team's doing? And I had like an ex-player saying, can you just say how good I was as a player? And people really so like people just started reaching out to me, and I was like, right, okay, if I'm doing that for you, what are you gonna do for me? And they were like, right, well, I'll tell you this bit and that bit. And then obviously I got to know some of the chairman through that, and it just got out of control. When I look at my phone now and I see the contacts I've got, if anyone ever calls me a fraud, which people like to do, I would love one day just to sit down and scroll through my phone book with them, and they see the messages and stuff of people I talk to. But it's crazy. I never thought it would get to this level. And but it's almost like sound a bit cliche. It's almost like a dream come true, because as a kid, I was obviously never good enough to play for West Ham. Therefore, I'd never managed West Ham. I'm not rich enough to own West Ham. So what's next best thing is to get paid to talk about West Ham. So happy days.
No, but now you said that about players ask you to say something. Next time I see like an exclusive report, like, oh, word on the street is Sufal has a really big dick. It's like, oh, he said that.
That's the guy. That's the guy that's asking him.
Yeah, that's right. I've never been asked to do that one yet, but if I do, you'll know that's where it came from, the man himself.
Really? Out of all the weird messages you get, you never get someone asking about that kind of weird shit?
I have had a few people say to me, like every now and again, who's got the biggest dick in the changing room, and I'm like, I don't know if I should even try and research that, because if I'm asking that question around, I don't know what it's. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. So yeah, I tend to avoid that one really.
I reckon back.
It's always like a good like flex though, where you're like, but like he sucks, but like he's got the biggest dick in the clubhouse, so maybe he's gonna be better going forward. He's like, all right, we don't want to get that guy out of this big dick energy. We literally need that maybe.
Maybe that's it, and maybe it can explain some of the injuries some of our players get as well.
His thighs just fucking suck, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
As you're saying, that's how he hurt his heel.
yeah.
Chipped up on his dick.
Yeah.
And Alex O in the live chat. Fun fact: Alex became a West Ham fan from watching Green Street Hooligans.
That is not a fun fact at all. It's not true.
No, because another one of his fun facts is that West Ham was founded by Sir Reginald Weston Hamilton. Although I wish that was true. That would be sick. So what would you say is kind of, have you got kind of, obviously you're taking it from just your Twitter account, doing this as a fun thing, as a kind of like challenge, to you started the podcast, now you're doing the Patreon, and you're fortunate to be able to do this full time. Have you kind of got now like the trajectory of like, okay, well, maybe this time next year would like to be doing this, or you kind of like still just enjoying doing what you're doing the pre-match events and things like that?
Well, we always have sort of targets for ourselves, and we never quite know what's going to happen. Obviously, we had a book out at Christmas, to think I'd have a book in Waterstones and various other bookshops. My English teachers would have been like, well, how the hell is he going to do that? But we did. We had a book out, and we've had, we've thought about other various things that we could do that are different to what we do now. But the ultimate aim is just to keep growing the Patreon, get more people to get past that. They're not paying £5 for a bit of gossip. They're paying £5 for a lot of hopefully good content. So hopefully increase the patrons, get the events going. We're hoping to take the events to different locations that aren't always on a match day, and different countries as well. We've been speaking to, obviously we've already done 2 in America. I've done both in Vegas, but we're hoping to do one in New York soon. We've got talks to do in Australia, if West Ham go to Australia this pre-season, which they're meant to be doing. We got talks to do them in Ireland, so that's exciting. Let's just really continue what we're doing and never become complacent, because we know how lucky we are to be in this position, and we just want to keep continuing to produce stuff that West Ham fans want to be involved with. So yeah, let's just enjoying the ride and see where we go.
Wasn't there rumours that there was going to be pre-season games in America next year, or was that just a rumour?
It was true. There was a rumor that we'd been in talks about America and Australia, and in America and Australia, both of them, we were going to do like a couple of cities whilst we were there. But it appears out of the two of them, and I think there was talks between both. It appears that Australia is the preferred option because we were meant to go there before COVID. We were involved in a tournament there, and then COVID got that cancelled. And I think Australia have this thing where they have a couple of English teams over and they play in like a tournament. I think they want to do that with West Ham, but the problem is our league position. Both the American teams that are going to be involved and the Australian teams that are going to be involved have said they want it to be a Premier League team. Obviously, at the moment, we can't guarantee that we're going to be one of them. So things are on hold at the moment. But I think if I was to say where I think it's going to be out the two, and I hate to say it's the American fans, but I think it's going to be Australia this summer.
Son of a bitch.
Talking about being a Premier League club, though, talking about maybe being it being in question that we could be a Premier League club. Like, what do you think the odds are that we go down after this season?
It's depressingly close. It's much closer than it should be. And I'm always trying to sit on the side of positivity when it comes to West Ham. I think just because how close the league is at the moment, and I do believe that people haven't given enough press to the fact how much Palace are struggling, how much Leicester are struggling, how much Forest are struggling away from home. I just think we'll pick up enough points just to stay up, and that there'll be 3 worse teams than us. And I've seen West Ham be relegated 3 times in my life, and I always knew those years that West Ham were going down. Whereas this year, I feel different. I feel like we'll just about stay up, and obviously I pray to God that I'm right and I'm not wrong. If I am wrong, then I think it'll be a massive problem for the club. We'll lose a lot of players. We'll have a half-empty stadium. It's not even worth thinking about. We got to stay up. We really need to. I think we'll just about get it over the line. Just.
Do you see any Oh, sorry.
There you go.
I was gonna say, do you see any, in terms of other than just pure hope? Do you see any kind of changes in? Because maybe this is a little bit. Where do you see kind of where it's going to get improved? Do you think suddenly our players are going to suddenly come together and just improve, or do you think we're going to have to rely on other teams to do bad? Because it's just been, it just seems like a secular thing where we do really well with not very good players, and then we sign some really exciting players like Felipe Anderson, etc., and then we just and then it's not until we get rid of them and kind of start again. Do you think we're in that kind of rut, or do you think that this group of players can finally gel and start doing things?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they'll ever gel, because I think that this season, because I think that obviously suggests that they'll go on a run of 3 or 4 or 5 good results. What I think they'll do is they'll just beat the teams that are not very good. So I think we'll beat Southampton. I know they're on a bit of an upward trend. They got a good result against Man United at the weekend, but I think we'll beat them. I think we'll get at least a point against Newcastle. I think we'll get a point against Fulham, and we'll just pick up enough points that will mean that we'll just about stay up, because the other teams are not good enough. That's what I hope. And as I say, I put my hands up and admit at times I'm overly optimistic. I think the graphic guy that does the West Ham Way Patreon, we do a prediction, me and Dave, every week on what we think West Ham's score is going to be, and he produced a graphic for us to put on our Patreon, and I actually said we can't put this on because it's embarrassing. What this graphic showed was where West Ham would be if mine and and Dave's predictions were actually correct, where we would be in the league and where we actually are. And I think in my predictions, West Ham was second in the league, and in Dave's predictions, West Ham were third. So we were like, no, I can't put that out. That's actually embarrassing. So I admit I'm a probably overly optimistic fan at times, but I do think we have enough to get out. I mean, with the players, when you go through you go through it, they should have enough. And also, they don't want it on their CV to get relegated. Declan Rice doesn't want to leave West Ham, having been here since a kid, captained the side, etc., etc. With, the season I left, West Ham were relegated, so I think we'll just about have enough.
Yeah, I keep looking at like the other teams at the bottom, and it is like we are better than Southampton. I think the teams that are above us right now, like you were saying, where Palace is struggling and Forest is also struggling, but like I think we're better than Leeds. Like I can convince myself that other teams are worse than us, which is like loser talk instead of just being like win the games. But it's like, but they suck too though, and they suck more than we suck. And like they don't have the players that we have, but then our players that we do have don't do anything. So we're just as bad as they are. But like this is like the weird, like the year we sacked Pellegrini, where Moyes just kept us up. I felt like we were going down for sure. Like I was so sold on us being like, I was like, well, this is it. Like we're no chance. We're gonna survive this. And then like we just survived there. Like this one, I'm like, we're gonna win like 5 in a row at some point, right? Like, and then it just hasn't happened all season long. Which is like we're running out of games. Every time I talk about that, like Mike's like, we only have this many games left. I'm like, shit, you're right, dude. I didn't really take a look at how many games we have left, but like let's just get a good run. We can get a good run, like you said. I think we're gonna be okay compared to all the other people around us.
Yeah.
So it's first time, I guess, we'll ask for some either your opinion or juicy gossip, wherever you want to go with this. But where do you see? Let's just say, best case scenario, we scrape and we stay in the Premier League. What do you think, whether again in your opinion or if you have some inside knowledge, whatever it might be, what do you think West Ham looks like going into the summer?
I think the Conference League will also be a factor. So I think if West Ham stay up, just as you've described, and we win the Conference League, then I think they might give Moyes more time because they'll say, well, we won a trophy. West Ham haven't won a trophy in, 43 years now. So, I think they'd give him that. They'd say you've won a trophy, so fair play. But you've got to do better in the league next year. If we don't win that, and then we do just about stay up, I think they will have serious words with him, and I don't know the answer because I don't think they know the answer yet. But I think he would probably go in the summer if we just about stay up. I know that they've had off the record chats with a few managers, and then so they've obviously prepared some kind of contingency. And I think if we just stayed up, he would go. If we finished 12th, 13th, 14th, maybe even 15th. He might get a stay of execution, but anything like if we just stayed up on goal difference or a point or something, I think they'd seriously question it. But that is my opinion. That's not fact. I've not been told either way what the club will do. I don't think the club know at this point what they'll do either.
No, and how much obviously the passing of David Gold, how much did that kind of throw everything into a little bit of turmoil? Did that affect things much, or do you think that did cause a little bit of a shit show in the backstage?
It was a bit of an issue for them because David Gold was the biggest backer of David Moyes. He was the reason David Moyes got the job in the first place. He wanted to keep him on and not put Pellegrini in charge, and then he was very keen to reappoint him. And Moyes and Gold had a very, very tight relationship. I think Moyes was particularly good to the family after the death as well. So I think they're really, really close to those two close. And I think that then made it a difficult position for them as a family because they've still got to say through their shares and David Sullivan to be maybe as cutthroat as they might have been earlier, but it's hard to know. I think ultimately what it boils down to is that West Ham wouldn't want to pay the compensation to sack David Moyes, and David Sullivan didn't believe, and probably still doesn't believe, that there's a clear alternative to David Moyes. I think that's the bottom line, regardless of the circumstances. But yeah, the circumstances probably clouded things a bit. Yeah.
Where did the Jose Mourinho rumors come from? That just seemed to come out of left field when I saw that, and I was like, really? Was there any truth to that? Was there feelers put out for him, or is that
a
kind
picture
of
of
people...
him doing the hammers, right?
Yeah, I mean,
the rumors were from.
But with those hammers things, I mentioned this on our podcast this week. Those when in Italy, it's like and in a lot of other places in Europe, it's like like how people sort of do that peace sign for photos, like 2 fingers up, like it's often sort of in Asian culture. They do that as a pose for a photo. It's like a pose for a photo in some countries. It also means workforce as well in other countries, or I'm working hard. So I think a lot of West Ham fans, they see that and think, oh, it's to do with West Ham. But actually, it has a bigger meaning than just being across the irons or across the hammers for West Ham. West Ham fans jump on it. So I don't think that that Jose Mourinho thing was anything to do with West Ham. I think the linkers came from, I think maybe in his autobiography, he said something along the lines of he likes West Ham or he'd like to manage us one day. But that was years ago. I've already asked the people that would make the appointment of Jose Mourinho whether they would consider him, and they said no, he costs too much money, he starts off well but then loses the dressing room, and his methods don't work anymore. And I've already put that out a couple of times, but I think these people sort of are so desperate for David Moyes to go that they'll jump onto any story that involves any manager, really. So yeah, I think it was just a case of wanting to believe the hype, but actually there being no truth in the hype. And I don't think Jose Mourinho would be the right person for West Ham personally. So I'm glad that I don't think it's true.
Well, you've seen that in there. Who's the fella who doesn't have his licenses and the club pay a fine every time he manages their team?
Will Steele, is that his name? Yeah.
The amount of people are going nuts over him. Like, why? Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's 3 standout candidates for me, and I'm sorry to people that have listened to my podcast that have heard me say this, but I think you need a manager that is on the upward path of his career, not a manager like Jose Mourinho that's been around the block and been sacked numerous times, and everyone knows what he's about. I think you need I think you need a manager that's still no one knows what their true potential is. And the 3 managers that I think fall under that category are Celtics manager, and I always call him Celtics manager because I can't pronounce his surname, but Celtics manager who is in his late 50s, but he seems to be peaking right now and done brilliant for them. Michael Carrick, very unproven, I know, but he's like, I don't know if they won tonight. Actually, they were playing today, but he's got an amazing record with Middlesbrough, out of relegation to top of the league, and a former West Ham Academy player. And then I think Vincent Kompany at Manchester City done an amazing job there. Craig Bellamy's his assistant, another ex-West Ham player. Whether he'd come to West Ham, I don't know, but they'd be the 3 that I would go out and target as my top choices.
No love for Phil Neville?
No love for him, I'm afraid, no.
One thing, because obviously I was thinking in my head when he was talking about like Jose Mourinho is obviously going to cost a lot of money, but also he'd want money to be able to spend and buy his own kind of players. So in terms of like money and ownership and things like that, where are we at with the Daniel Kretinsky situation? Because obviously I know that kind of deadline is either come and gone or it's close, where obviously David Sullivan could sell his shares in West Ham and not have to pay a hefty tax fine to London. Where do you see that going? Do you think this could be something that's coming soon, or do you think all parties want to wait until to see if we are still a Premier League team at the end of the season? Where do you see that going potentially?
Well, yeah, I think that will definitely be a factor, whether we're a Premier League team or not. But I think, having spoken to all of to the Gold family and to the Sullivan family, I don't think either of them want to sell their shares in the club, from what I've heard. And I don't think Kretinsky, I don't know how to say his name either. I always get abused for how I pronounce his name. So, but he I don't think he's that interested in West Ham. I hate to say it, but I think he's just an investor. Apparently, he's got over 100 companies that he invests in, like in various industries. And I think that West Ham are just one of those. I don't think he, from what I've heard, has got particular, grand plans to take over and revolutionise the club. Unfortunately, I think if that happens, it will have to be an external buyer. I have heard there's a couple of people from USA, actually, a couple of consortiums there that are interested, and a Dubai consortium, but whether they'll ever put in an offer, I don't know, but we shall see. But for the time being, I think it wouldn't surprise me if the club is exactly in the same hands this time next year as it is now.
No sheiks looking to buy, because I'd love it if they could give us some of that Man City money,
I think there's a group, like I said, looking from Dubai, but I don't know how wealthy they are. The one I heard that's most likely is a USA consortium, and I know quite a lot about the company and the people involved in this company, and if I said it to you, you would know of them. But at the moment, I've been told that they're nowhere near sort of doing anything yet, so they don't want any speculation out. But if they take over, they are a wealthy American organisation, so maybe. But at the moment, they're not close, so it's all speculation.
That would be the typical West Ham thing, to get bought out by a sheik, but we get the only sheik that hasn't got any money.
Yeah, he'll probably have money and then run out of oil or something. That's what
the next day.
That's what happened when the Icelandics took over, didn't they? They took over, that. And then the Icelandic banks ran out of money. So, yeah, who knows what would happen?
Alex, wait, they pay taxes in London? Yes, unfortunately, we do have to pay taxes in London. And we don't have to worry about taxes until the next Olympics. I think it's leap year. Leap year is taxes, not
Good
Olympic
point.
Year. Shit, that threw me off, Alex. So, god damn it. But no, that was the thing. What we need. So, I know we're coming up short on time, but a lot of people obviously shit the bed and went nuts and like, oh my god, this can't happen. But one, I wouldn't mind this company buying us. But two, do you remember back like a few years back now, how realistic was the idea of Red Bull coming in and buying the club? I know it's an old story, but
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. I remember when those stories came around and there was talk about it, but I don't recall it ever getting to any point where they even had a discussion with anyone about us. Like, it was just speculation. They were obviously buying clubs across Europe. They've got one in Austria, one in Germany, for a few others that I've forgotten. And I think they were just looking to acquire another team. And we just got speculated, but I don't think it actually ever was close.
God damn it. One day. I think a West Ham shirt with the Red Bull logo on as a sponsor, I think that looked pretty sick. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm not sure personally, but
I think it would look better than Betway.
Yeah,
true, I don't hate Betway.
True.
Do you know what we need to go back to is my favorite. What was your favorite sponsor on a shirt? Mine was Dr. Martens. I thought that looked.
That had to be the
sweet.
coolest one.
I think it's that one because it's the era that I most enjoyed being a fan. So yeah, probably for me as well.
The Dagenham Motors one was kind of cool for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first shirt I owned was Dagenham Motors, and then I think the shirt manufacturer was it Bukta?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Are they even still a thing? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. And Pony, I don't think are a thing either. So yeah, we've had a few dodgy ones over the years.
When they with their weird squared off Nike rip off tick underneath.
Yeah, all over the shirt. Yeah.
And they came out with the because I'm always like on this show whenever they do the new kits. Obviously, they have like a template. You know, the home shirt is claret and blue every year. And then the away shirt is maybe like sky blue or dark blue or white. And they kind of rotate. So I'm always a big proponent of like, let's go nuts with the third shirt. Let's just like go nuts. So I do like the orange and white one we've got right now.
Yeah.
But I still remember when Pony came out with, I don't know if you've ever seen this, Alex, with the cream. It was
Yeah.
just I don't know
Cream
what color.
and purple.
Yeah, it just so bad. But I bought it because I bought it. I was young enough where I was like, "Mommy, Daddy, can I have this?" I think I wore it twice, and I was like, "Yeah, this doesn't look good."
I love that kit, like you say, just because it was so unique.
I'm looking at it. It is good looking.
That is one good thing about being a Giants fan, though, isn't it? Like the kits, New York Giants kits always look smart. I know there's not that much variation in them, but I always think we might not play the best on the field, but we always look one of the best, and the helmet always looks better than most as well.
Yeah, I don't know how they get away with it when they release a new shirt every year. And it's like, well, what's different from this one? Well,
Yeah, exactly.
the sleeves have got slightly more red on them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the NFL doesn't have to change them every time, but I think that's like the cool part about like after this season, if we stay up, like the new jerseys next year, like I'm buying both of them. I'm like, well, fuck, this is a new beginning, this new team, totally different. Like you get that hope because it's like it looks different than last year, so it's not gonna be as bad. And like when we stayed up the last time, that was like when COVID happened, and like we got to wear the new kits for the next season before the end of the COVID shortened season. It was like, see, we stayed up because those jerseys are better.
Yeah.
My dumb brain can like translate it to no, we had those kits. That was why we were better. The other ones, those were shitty team kits.
Yeah.
Are we still stuck with Umbro? Because I think was this their last year officially, and then did we re-sign them again?
I think they have a contract still, yeah, and I think Betway do as well. But the thing, there's still talk about whether betting companies will be allowed on shirts, and at the moment it appears that it's advice that they shouldn't be rather than law. So I think we're going to stick with Betway as well, as far as I know.
It could be worse.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. Betway's pretty cool looking to me. It's clean.
I remember there was a period in time where we didn't have a sponsor because I can't remember who the sponsor was. You'll remember X better than me. Then they went out of business. Yeah,
the flight. It was a Flights XL they were called, which was great as a fat West Ham fan having XL written over the front of my t-shirt and on the back of my t-shirt as well. But they went bust, and we had nothing, and then we put like the squad number on it, and then we sort of put something over the top of that as well. God, that was embarrassing times, but one of many embarrassing times the West Ham fan.
Well, I just remember there was rumours at the time that we were gonna. Well, I don't know how much of it was like real rumour or just as a joke on West Ham, but I remember when the name Jiffy Condoms was bounced around.
Yeah.
So, please don't be true. Please don't be true.
It wouldn't surprise you if West Ham would it. Let's be honest.
Anyway, before we let you go, because I know we're coming up, it's getting late down there. Right, I know I've put you on the spot, but as a special for our 100th episode, is there anything juicy that you could like give us so we can clip on?
The problem is that the timing's not great because I've done my podcast yesterday, so anything juicy came on that. I can't think much has happened since then, unfortunately.
Just make something up.
Yeah, couldn't I? Yeah, West Ham is signing Eli Manning as the new coach. I think there's a few things behind the scenes that will probably come out at some point. I'm trying to give you an exclusive that I haven't said. I can't say this one, but I can tempt it a little bit. There's a few things behind the scenes that have gone on in terms of certain roles within the club, I guess, probably the best way to say it, that will come public at some point, that isn't right now, that people will be like, oh, I didn't realise that explains a few things, and that's probably all I can say, really. I hate to be like one of those people that just, I've got a secret, but I'm not going to tell you type thing, but that is literally the only thing I can think of that I haven't said at the moment, as far as I know. In terms of Thursday, it's going to be a relatively strong team. It's going to alternate a bit, but he is still going to go for the win just for confidence and stuff. So that's about all I've got, lads, I'm afraid. And in terms of New York Giants gossip, I can't tell you about anything. I see that we signed a few players today, one from the Colts, wasn't it, and one from the Raiders. What's his name? Daniel Jones looks like he's agreed as well. Yeah, so 3 signings essentially, I guess, today. But you know more about that than me, probably. Do you know if Barkley's going to sign yet? Has that been decided?
They're still in negotiations with that, but we did get a linebacker from Indy, and then we signed. We traded for Darren Waller today, which should definitely help our offense going forward.
Well, Dan Waller's meant to be good, from what I've heard. Yeah, from what I know.
Yeah,
so
one
I'm
of the
quite
best when he's
excited about
healthy.
that. Yeah, but I see he's injured a lot, isn't he? He's got quite a good backstory as well, isn't he? About how he's rehabilitated himself and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Look at that. You should ex-Giants employee get that Twitter handle.
Yeah, there you go.
And since this is your job now, you can you got some more time on your hands.
I could do one. I could do one as a hobby now. Yeah, no, I actually probably know more about the Giants than I let on, but I always just don't feel as confident talking about them as I do West Ham. Because obviously, I'm quite practiced with West Ham, but in New York, I probably know more than I actually do let on because I read it every day. It's just how much I take in because obviously with an NFL squad, there's so many more players than a football squad, so it's hard to remember exactly who's who. But I think I've got a rough knowledge.
It just still blows my mind about the positions. Like we just re-signed our long snapper.
Yeah.
So his job is literally to catch the ball and put it on the ground so the guy can kick it.
No, that's the holder. His is to snap it to the guy.
Oh, he's the guy that throws it. Oh, okay, at least. Well, is this a holder? Does he do other things, or is that literally his job?
Ours is Jamie Gillen, our punter, who re-signed to another 1-year deal yesterday, actually.
Well, at least
so like usually you get a backup quarterback or your punter to hold it, so it's good with their hands.
Beautiful.
Well,
there you go. We've learned.
Do you remember when I don't know if you remember this, when Clive Allen, the former West Ham striker, he played for I think it was London Broncos. Was it called the London Broncos? What are they called? I think they were called the London Broncos. I can't remember. No, not Broncos. I don't know, but London, they created an NFL team in London anyway. It was meant to be like the way of bringing NFL to England, and they just got Clive Allen, who was a former Premier League striker, to be the kicker. Because they're like, well, he scored goals in football, so he might be able to do them in the NFL as well. It's like ridiculous, but I think
it's NFL Europe, right?
Yeah, in the NFL Europe, they were called the London something.
London Monarchs.
Monarchs, that's it, London Monarchs. Yeah, London Monarchs. That makes sense, actually, monarchy and all that. But yeah, London Monarchs. So that was the team, and they signed Clive Allen for about 3 or 4 games just to be the kicker. So yeah, happy days. But I don't know how popular the Giants actually are. I think we're one of the more popular teams in England, I would guess. I think probably the Cowboys are the most popular, aren't they? As they are most places, unfortunately. But I think we've got to be right up there in terms of popularity, from what I can see, anyway.
I think it's just the New York connection. So
that's probably it.
It's like the Yankees. How many people wear Yankees baseball caps and they probably have no idea what a baseball game looks like?
Yeah, very true. Very true. But there's more Giants than there are Jets, 100%.
There you go.
That's not anything.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, I know you got to get to bed, so I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah,
no, pleasure.
Don't be a stranger.
No, I'll come on again when we've won the Super Bowl.
Okay, well, we'll see you.
Which will be next season
then.
Yeah, it'll be next season.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, cheers, buddy. Thanks very much.
Cheers, thanks, lads.
Later, man.
Oh, now I've lost all my bits. There we go.
This segment is called Mike Tries to Figure Out How to segue.
Did you notice how where I seamlessly accidentally hit the? I didn't know. So apparently there's buttons on my mouse.
Oh yeah, I saw that we had shifted for a second.
Well, yeah. Apparently I knocked something. I just exited the window. I was like, "Fuck." Oops. But yeah, I'm back. But yeah, I was actually quite surprised. That was good stuff. Cheers very much for ExWHUEmployee coming onto the show.
Guy knows his shit, dude. Guy knows his shit.
He does. And I was going to save the Giants talk for after, but he kind of touched on it. So yes, obviously David Waller, new signing for the Giants.
Darren Waller.
Kurake.
Kurake. Darren Waller.
Darren. Why did I think it was David?
Because
who's David Waller?
Yeah, you think all Davids look the same, Mike? They don't.
Indeed. Nick Gates obviously going over to the Commandos.
I don't want to talk about that. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it.
No. But yeah, other than that, so what do you think there? Because I know we picked up, we obviously I had to write down some of them, but obviously we kept Matt Bray. I'm actually quite surprised Matt Bray stayed. I mean, obviously it's listed as a renegotiated contract, so maybe I don't know if he's on less or more or whatever, but I was actually quite surprised they kept him around.
Deal. I mean, like really look at like what I think is key when you see this is like with good teams, and we were a good team last year. You got to keep your core guys that got you there together. And I mean, losing Nick Gates is really huge, but like I don't know how much that was going to cost, and if we can draft something, maybe get something in free agency. Nick Gates was just an awesome story, and so like it sucks that he's not going to be back. But like bringing Burita back, like obviously Kafka and Dable liked what he did in the system, and he was great at being change of pace back for Barkley at times, and like they trusted him in the pass game, they trusted him in a blocking game. Like he's a solid blocker. If you go back and look at a lot of the plays he was in, he was a good like lead blocker, and a lot of times you would see Barkley and Burita in the same backfield. I think that they're going to try and continue that going forward, and it's just like if he's going to come back and not going to cost us a fortune, like why not bring back somebody that's already familiar with the system. So I was really happy with that because that shows that they liked what they had in him. And like you don't need to go shopping out for a running back that may or may not fit the system. We already know a guy that can fit the system, and he's back. And now we have Barkley back as well. But yeah, I didn't think that was as shocking. It's just nice to see some of the guys that are coming back. And then our linebacker we got yesterday was a huge signing. And I mean, linebacker has been our weakest defensive position, I would say, for the last 2 years or so. We just haven't had really anybody since Antonio Pierce and like those Giants teams. We had Blake Martinez for a year, but after that, like it's been Antonio Pierce since we had like a dominant linebacker. I think we're gonna address that in the draft as well. But having like a stud linebacker to kind of like start like and help with everybody, that's a step in the right direction. He's gonna go awesome with Wink Martindale's system, I think.
Also, the thing I like about this is that the Waller deal just came out of nowhere. Like we're not one of these teams where we're kind of like it's rumored and then it drags out for 2 weeks. It's like boom, you want a deal? Here's a deal, bang. We're not.
Well, they were what they were like. They realized, I think, that this is not a deep wide receiver free agency class. Maybe not the deepest free agency draft. We did get Sterling Shepard back for another 1-year deal, so Sterling Shepard's back. I mean, we've got Isaiah Hodgins back again, but I think that they were like, well, it's also somebody that catches the ball is tight end, so we can have Bellinger, who's a good blocker, and also we can pair him with Darren Waller, who's one of the best tight ends in the league, top 4 or 5 in the league, I would say, when he's healthy. And having somebody that's reliable to that, Daniel Jones throws a lot of short passes. A lot of short passes go to tight ends. There's your tight end that you can throw those short passes to. He's got big hands. He's a fucking just dog inside the fucking the numbers inside with the linebackers and stuff like that. Like Darren Waller could have a monster season, and in the red zone, you got a big target like that to just here you go. And I mean, Danny used his legs a lot, but like I'm really happy with the Darren Waller signing. And again, I didn't see that either, like you said. I didn't see that coming, but I'm pretty stoked about it. Maybe he stay healthy. And it was the pick we had with Kadarius Toney that we got from the Chiefs. Yeah. So we basically just swapped Kadarius Toney for one of the best tight ends in the league.
And Kadarius Toney took that very well on Twitter when people were doing it, so that making that comparison. I saw he was having a little hissy fit on tweet. I'm assuming that's what he was referring to, but I don't know.
Media some clowns, bro.
Before we head out, I know this is Giants, but Aaron Rodgers apparently is going to be on Pat McAfee tomorrow at 1:00 Eastern. I am so holding out because the rumor came out that he's given this shopping list. Can you get these players for me? And they've signed one or two of them already. It would be so funny if he just announced, yeah, man, I'm retiring. Thanks very much. That'd be so funny. I know it's not. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a Jets quarterback next year, but that would be funny. Would it not? But yeah, it'd be fun because seeing Aaron Rodgers lose to the Giants next year wearing a Jets jersey.
Wouldn't hate it. We beat him last year. Beat him again.
Right. So that was the 100th episode again. Thanks very much for ExWHU employee joining us. Now that I know Jack Collinson is a Giants fan, I might now use my connection, see if we can get him on. He lives in Alabama.
I don't hate that.
I whenever I just think about him living in Alabama, I don't know why. I just find it
why there?
weird.
Who lives there? Weird.
Well, he works for Huntsville City FC. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
But yes, if you are, want to check out some more of our dulcet tones and talking about other things other than sports, although we do still sometimes talk about sports on these other podcasts, we do have a podcast. Alex, Pass the Gravy, new episode coming out tomorrow. What are the good fine folks of the Gravy Gang got to look forward to?
We're talking to hippos on Pass the Gravy. Just like I went down a hippo wormhole today. Like they're fucking wild. So we'll talk about that. Truck commercials, March Madness, and a little bit of the XFL and some NFL free agency that we haven't necessarily gotten into on this. But we're also going to do a mock draft of cocaine athletes. So really excited about that. Very, very, maybe the most I've ever been excited for a mock draft. I got my first half win of the mock draft season. Had not had a win yet, but I got a half of a win since Robert and I tied last week on our mock draft of women. So hopefully I can get
Mother Earth was a top pick by him.
It was a good pick. As long as Pat didn't win, really, that's what mattered to me. So if I have to share a victory with Robert, I'm cool with that. But a mock draft of cocaine athletes, I think I might take this one tomorrow. So tune in, Pass Your Podcast at Pass Your Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and then go like our Facebook page. What's going on Waffle Box tomorrow?
Waffle Box, we'll be talking about the Oscars, and each year they just continue to have controversy after controversy after controversy. This year, the big controversy was headdresses. So we discuss the giant headdress in the Oscars, and I guess some of the winners as well. Also, the funny story, not for them, but it was for me when I was reading it, of the young couple on their Hawaiian trip that got left for dead by a tour company. Hilarious story. Trust me on that. Just listen to the podcast. Also, who would win in a fight? Dwayne Johnson or a kangaroo? You'll find out our picks on that random topic that popped up. And then obviously we're talking about Scream 6 in the movie review, and then all the other good segments. So check that out at Wafflebox Pod on Twitter, Instagram. New episodes drops in about 5 hours time. So again, as usual, check out Wafflebox in the morning or the early afternoon, and then Pass the Gravy in the early evening into the night. Just to catch up some of the live chats, Adrian Valdez, Kangaroo, he votes for Kangaroo to beat Dwayne Johnson.
Dude, I don't know, bro. The Rock with the people's elbow.
Check out the show for my pick. Alex, good luck to Great Britain baseball tonight.
We didn't get to talk about that at all, dude. We have to a little bit, but like, did you see the jerseys? They won?
They won. Yes.
They beat,
when did they?
Nicaragua.
They beat Colombia, I think.
What?
World Baseball Classic. There we go.
But like you saw like the jersey fiascos where it was like they were like, shit, we have to have jerseys. All right, go buy some iron-on numbers at Hobby Lobby. What kind of font? Just go Arial. And it was just Great Britain on the top and bottom. It was the most like, oh fuck, that's due today. And whoever was in charge of the jersey thing was like, the hat guy did his part. He's like, dude, it's like in cursive. It's got GB. It's got the GB flag on. They're not that bad. They look like regular, like, okay, that would be a World Baseball Classic hat. But then the jersey, it was like that guy was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, hold on. Let me go down to the store. We'll make them. Like,
I was thinking the only way it could look worse. The tee
falling off of the pitcher's jersey yesterday was just like, it was chef's kiss on top of everything else. I was like, of course it did.
Well, that's also that. The only way it could be worse is if they just got some T-shirts and got a Sharpie and wrote Great Britain
white
on it.
Shirts. They're just undershirts.
But then at least it would stay Great Britain for the whole game rather than the ending of the game as Grey Britain.
Great Britain.
But yeah, they need to. Now we've actually won a game.
Somebody like bent over and it ripped, like it just tears it like right to their ass crack. It's like, yep, these are the jerseys we got, guys.
Yeah, I don't know who's in charge of British baseball, but they need to invest a little
The
bit.
king should behead them. They still do that. They don't, but bring it back.
Like, they could do some sick designs with but no, it was just red T-shirt with some stick-on letters.
I didn't know if you'd see that, but it was pretty comical. Just you're like, oh, update on the Great Britain jerseys. Even worse today. Now the letters aren't even staying on. You're like, oh, sick.
I reckon I'm just going to pick them up and just have G and then B. That'll do.
It's like one of those sports where it's like when the U.S. is in rugby, which I guess sevens we're good in, but you're like, hey, it'll be fun to kind of see us there, and then we'll lose and be out real fast. But like Great Britain in like hockey and baseball, it's just like, just happy to be here, boys. Just gonna go through this game and head back to the showers. We'll go eat our mushy peas in our room and then go back to bed and wake up tomorrow and hope that it's another cracker of a day.
You'll know how the budget is if tonight when they face Mexico, is if the pitcher walks out and he's still missing the T. If they can't be bothered to replace the T, then you'll know it's Jesus.
You really
That'd be
need
hilarious.
the T, bro? Like, come on, you don't need the T. Just like or what if it's just taped on?
Some gorilla tape, but
they use white tape and they just make a T. It's not even with it. But yeah, World Baseball Classic.
Shout out to Great Britain. Playing tonight, I think at 10 o'clock Eastern against Mexico. Good at baseball. I'm assuming they're better than.
Oh, dude, that means
Britain.
that like I don't have to work this week, so like I can I've been staying up late just playing video games, and it's like, oh, World Baseball Classic's on tight. I'll just watch a game at like 9:30 because they had some of those games in China, and I was like, fuck yeah, 2:30 game. Give me something to watch.
Well, as we speak right now, we're missing the barn burner that is Israel versus Dominican Republic.
Fuck, Dominican Republic's probably killing them.
Yeah, so no, the website doesn't have. It just says it's live. It doesn't have a live score, which is really annoying to me.
People don't want to be spoiled, I guess. Dude, I haven't watched it yet.
It's again. It doesn't say. Oh, it's top of the. Oh, it's only just started. Top of the first. 0-0. So we're good. We're good.
Thank God, we have plenty of time to go watch it. Then.
The Houston SaberCats have awesome rugby jersey.
Shout out to the SaberCats.
Sure. I can't wait to draft Jones in fantasy next year.
Good. I had him last year. He was dope.
It's just a matter of time until Odell Beckham comes home. Technically, I wouldn't be shocked if he's playing in New York next year. Just not for the Giants.
Mike, are you going to do our fantasy women's basketball?
Why are you struggling?
Yeah,
to
it turns out not as many people were into it as I thought they might be.
How many have you got so far?
Enough.
Is it just you?
No, we got like 6 or 7 people. We're just trying to fill it out.
All right, maybe. I'll think about it.
Season starts next week, dude. We got to go. We got to make moves. It's crunch time.
If you're a big WNBA fan,
I'll bill you for it.
Alex J. Middleton.
I'll bill you for it.
There you go.
All right.
Let's get out of here so we can watch Israel versus Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I got a big bet on that one.
But yes, make sure you follow us at CBB Pod on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook if you are over the age of 50. I am at Only Mike Fish. He is at Alex J. Middleton. Again, make sure you check out Pasta Gravy and Waffle Box. New episodes coming tomorrow. But until next time, don't forget.
Seahorses forever.
See you next Tuesday.
Hey, let's go to Peyton. He's going to break down that touchdown.
Can't hear shit.
Never mind.